go.
And welcome to your host, Andy.
Let's go. Let's go.
Hello, welcome to today's show with myself, Nicole, and our amazing guest stroke friend, Mr. Chris Meek of Scottish Paranormal Podcast. Welcome to the show, Chris.
Hi, folks. Hi, Andy. Hi, Nicole.
Hey.
So before we carry on, I know I said no updates, but I've got to do updates. So
Shocker.
this is all
Andy's spooked.
I know. So first things first, anyone who's ordered merchandise directly from myself, I've not posted it out yet because I've been ill off work and I've only just started feeling better today. So it will be getting done either Friday or over the weekend. So you'll get it, say, Tuesday, Wednesday, the latest next week. So this is what you can get from me. So 2 stickers, one of the square key rings and one of the bottle openers. That to be sent out to the UK, including postage and package, is £10. If you are interested in that, you need to email me, andy@alienate.uk. We now have online shop. So there is one connected to the YouTube channel. You can click on it, but it only shows you a certain amount because it's not open to the UK yet. It's only open to the US, like everything. So we have to wait, and it's probably about another 12 months before we get the full shebang of it all. But this is how it looks. I'll show you the 2 sites. I'll just do it quickly. Sorry, Chris.
Listen, it's all right. We spoke about this before you came on. It's all right. It's cool.
Yeah. So, so this is the alienate.uk-read.com. So this is like just Alienate UK merchandise. There's nothing else on this. But it is connected to TeePublic, which is the main head website. But if you go on this one, you click on, let's say, Alienate UK, takes you straight to it. If it doesn't take you to that, it's not the official one. Then you go menu, choose what you want. So click on hoodies. There's 6 different designs. So you've got with the jagged text only, the alien head, just the logo and text in a banner, and the old logo. And then you click on whatever one you want. Certain ones only come in certain colours. It all depends on the actual logo and design itself and the type of garment is that you're going to be buying. So these are UK prices. If you first click onto it, if you scroll straight to the bottom where it says United Kingdom GP pound, you go into that box there and you choose what country and what currency you want to use. And that's it. That's all you've got to do. Do baseball caps. Did you know that baseball cap is called a dad hat? Right?
Is it?
A dad
and
hat?
The sport one, that one is called a trucker hat.
That's a trucker hat, yeah.
But that one's a sports hat because it's vintage, like baseball and all that kind of stuff. That's just like hats that they wear.
Mm-hmm.
But the dad hat is the ones that I have. Surprise, surprise. So, yeah. And then accessories.
Hat, like era where everybody had a trucker hat?
I don't know. It must be. So, but do phone cases as well. The blue, the red, and the green in them designs, they are so each color that you see there, whatever design you want, that's the color you get. I just didn't want them all black or all grey or all white or whatever. I thought I'd put some brighter colors in. The mainly for the iPhone. So I'll click on this one. So you see iPhone 16 all the way down to the 7. And then you got the Galaxy 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. That's it. Right. So that is the Dashery. Yeah. So that's the Dashery website. That'll take you straight to it. If you want to go via TeePublic, very much the same, except when you click on an item, it takes forever. You'll see the colours. Yeah, so they all load up there, pink. Eventually they load up. They just takes forever. And then you need to scroll down to see other stuff. And then view more by this artist. I'm now classed as an artist because it's my own. So when everything loads back up, there we go. Yeah, so everything's on there. I will put the banner across the bottom now for the links to it. So I'm going to keep running through most of the show if anyone's interested. So hello everyone who's just come in the chat. Sorry to message you all and what have you, but I was too busy doing that. So yeah, so if you want any of that, you have to go on alienate.uk, alienateuk.dashery.com. That is a direct link to everything. If you want to go on the TeePublic one, I can just keep track on everything. I don't get to choose the prices or the shipping fees or anything like that. Whatever it says is whatever it is. I don't get a choice in any of that. I do on the Dashery one, but I only get to put the prices up. I can't put them down. So I can make more money, but I'm not going to rip anyone off. So I'm just going to keep it exactly as it is. That's it. And then the ship from America. So if there's anyone in the US, it will be a lot cheaper for you guys to buy it because you're not paying like £10-15 shipping or whatever it is. But if you do want any of the these dark key rings and some out have just thrown on the floor, don't even know where that went. Where did it go? Any of these? Yeah, 2 stickers, the dangly keyring that you're showing, the Perspex one, and the bottle opener. That's £10, including postage and package. And that's it. So thank you for holding on, Chris, and everyone.
That's all right.
We do appreciate it.
We did discuss that before we came on, so didn't think, folks, that Andy's just not talking to me, plugging his stuff.
To Chris.
I'm just buying a couple of hoodies during that. It's fine.
But you know what? I don't even get discount on it. So whatever the price is, that's what I have to pay. So there's no. But if you do it in the next, I think it's 20 hours, you get up to 35% off.
Cool.
So it's not too bad.
So how's things? It's been a while.
It has. It's been what? About a month? Well, since me and you spoke.
That's right. When was it last time? Last time we spoke was probably was it New Year's, before New Year, wasn't it?
A couple of days before New Year with Greg and Ash for Pursuit of the Paranormal podcast.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I got on my soapbox yet again, Nicole, talking about drones and whistleblowers. So.
Oh, is this when drones got banned? Well, the D word got banned.
That was a moment. That was like the pinnacle of everything that was going on. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, there's been quite a lot happening since the last time we spoke. I mean, there's been quite a lot of stuff happening in disclosure-wise. I don't know how much you keep up to date with it all and stuff like that. It's hard to try and keep up to date with everything and work and have kids and do stuff, you know what I mean? So it's trying to kind of keep tabs on what's happening, watching different podcasts, reading different things, you know what I mean? It's just, and then obviously the news and all the streams you get for the disclosure stuff in America. There's loads of stuff. Yeah. Have you listened to a lot of the Jake Barber stuff in regards to I know that happened like in January, stuff like that, but have you followed the stories for that?
I haven't followed anything.
I started to, but then couple of people started sending me. It was Darren and Og actually was sending me links to Rendlesham, which you might be interested in.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name. What's he called? Professor Simon. Can't see his surname without clicking on it. And he
Simon
was-
Holland. Simon
Yeah,
Holland.
that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was saying that Rendlesham, it wasn't all to do with UFOs. That was like, look over there while we do this sort of thing. It was to do with like a vortex sort of portal type thing that was going on.
The interesting thing I took for that, I mean, I seen Simon Holland's podcast on a bit about Rendlesham, and so if you follow the stuff that Jake Barber came out with in regards to crash retrievals, working for a defence contractor, it was probably Lockheed Martin or what's the other one, Northrop Grumman or something like that. It's like the two of them. You know what I mean? So they were doing like crash retrievals, and there was. Obviously the thing with the egg and all that kind of stuff. The video wasn't great. I mean, a lot of people were waiting to see this video of the egg, and it was just like an egg. I mean, but apart from that, it's not taking away from some of the stuff and the stories that he's relayed and came out with. So the whole kind of thing, obviously, with this aspect, it's kind of like an aspect of CE5. They call them psionic assets. So basically, they're doing CE5, but they said they used that as just another tool. With all the other technology they had. So they were using technology to try and bait UFOs and using psi assets to do the same. So they were just using psi assets as part of that kind of process or whatever. And they said they could take control of the craft, sometimes land the craft or bring the craft in and all that kind of stuff. They're different types of craft. So the interesting thing with all of that, if you followed, obviously Ross Coulthart had a piece with Jake Barber talking about the whole process of what he's basically his life, his career, how he ended up being a whistleblower, and what they did in regards to the team and retrievals and all that kind of stuff. And I know like, probably a lot of people in the chat have probably followed it and listened to it well and maybe watched it, depending what they believe or no believe in it. But some of the interesting things that came out of that was obviously the size stuff, which a lot of us know about anyway in regards to CU5. But it was interesting to see that actually, like, potentially, if it's true, that the governments and stuff like that are using it. I mean, we all know that we've always been interested in psi phenomena with remote viewing. Back years and years ago, Hal Puthoff was involved in that. There was in regards to SRI, Stanford Research Institute. And then you had something like Hal Puthoff, Russell Targ, and then obviously in the military kind of side, you had Joe McGonigal and all that kind of stuff. A lot of people may know the history of that. So the whole kind of remote viewing process. So that probably never ended, and there's probably a lot more that came for that, if you take it that way. But the interesting kind of thing that I found by listening to some of the stories, although we knew kind of some of that stuff has been done or whatever, was the fact that the Herrera story, in regards to, can you remember the story with, what's the guy's first name again? Herrera, where he was, the story he came out with Greer, when he was basically somewhere in Asia or Indonesia or something like that, when there was like a storm or some type of cyclone or whatever it was, and they were helping humanitarian. And basically, like the country in regards to, they were in like a US ship, they were like Marines and stuff like that. And they were out in some type of excursion and they seen some type of octagon shaped craft, and there was like private military people there as well. Can you remember that story? It was put up with Greer gone probably last. Michael Herrera, his name was.
Yes.
Yeah. He came out with that story, right? He came out with that story in regards to him and his team came across like this craft, right? Octagon-shaped craft. And there was a team of like special forces guys there as well. Took their weapons off them. They were talking about smoking them, like as in like killing them in the jungle and stuff like that. And then when the guy eventually let them go and stuff like that, and the guy went back to the ship, he had some pictures he said he took, but he said his camera ended up going disappeared or whatever. So he came out, one of Greer's whistleblowers, and He also said that they were shipping something, right, in containers, and
Yeah.
he thought it was like some type of drug smuggling operation with maybe advanced technology or whatever else. But then somebody told him it in these boxes that were like that's for basically transporting humans, right? So then it was
Yeah.
like linked into being some type of human trafficking thing. Bear with me with this now, right? So human trafficking thing and all that kind of stuff. So, and it sounds like a totally crazy story. And then Jake Barber at one point then went and approached Herrera because he knew that part of that story was true. Well, so he says, right? Part of that because he knew
Yeah.
teams who were doing stuff like that. And then they were like shipping these containers that was supposed to be humans in it. And what he said the humans were potentially is Psi assets, right? And he said that it's in the third world country, because sometimes they're connected a bit more to the land and stuff like that, that they're more susceptible to actually having these powers, if you call them powers or whatever, right? Like Psi abilities, all right?
Yeah.
So he relayed that. He said they were. I know people who are involved in stuff like that because it sounds plausible because the way he described the craft is the same type of craft I've seen that's reverse technology, and the fact that the boxes he described, the way he described them, what they are, because I know they're for transporting humans, right? But he made it out as if like the humans that were getting transported were potentially Psi assets coming to live in the US and work on these programs. All right. Yeah. I just find that kind of hard to believe, and it's mad. Like, I mean, if you're going to even take somebody from another country, do you need to get a reverse technology UFO to go and pick them up in some box? You know what I mean?
Stick him on a coach.
So I mean, because like this was
who's going to know?
If you watch Jesse Michaels and his American Alchemy podcast, he had Jake Barber on and he spoke about all this. And I just find that mad to fathom the fact that if these teams are going to pick up like Psi assets or they're clearing out of a place because there's a storm coming or there's been a storm, why on earth would you fly an advanced reverse engineered UFO to go and pick these people up? I mean, what's your thoughts on that? That's kind of I just find it totally mad.
Like,
if you will follow it, you might not know. Yeah. But
you could stick him on a coach, but then or train or something like that. But their concern is probably if something happens to them, it'd be easier to put them in a vehicle that isn't going to get affected by traffic.
Well, his kind of take on it was that that these assets who were going to kind of move to work in the US, they were potentially maybe over there, and then they had to kind of get out of Dodge because of the obviously the storms and stuff like that. It caused the destruction. I mean, it was a tsunami or something like that. It was an earthquake and a tsunami or something like that, right? But
yeah,
totally mad, right? A totally mad story. But the thing with Michael Herrera, when he came out, he was adamant, kind of he'd seen this thing, people kind of poo-pooed him. And then obviously with Jake Barber's came out now, and he's kind of not totally corroborated it because he wasn't one of the people there, but he knows the teams who were operating and working in these type of places, and he goes, that's what it probably was. I just find it mad, you know what I mean, that that's happened. So what he did also mention in the Jesse Michaels thing is that the kids are more susceptible to kind of, or can be better susceptible to have these Psi powers as well. So in that aspect to it, he did say that kids have been used to obviously for like Psi powers and stuff like that, and tried to kind of look at that. But he didn't dig too much into that, which I'd like to have heard a bit more about, because if that's the case, then some of these stories that you've heard in the past where people said that their dad worked in the State Department in the US or was involved in the military, and then for an early age he was brought in to do X, Y, and Z other stuff. Or on the other hand, you get stories for back in the day for places like Camp Hero, Project, all that, like alleged Project Montauk and stuff like that, where there was people said that they were in some type of program where they'd go to a place and it was like potentially like Camp Hero or something like that, right? Like Stranger Things type thing. You know what I mean? And then some of the people involved in that could describe how there's a certain building on that place, and it had like wallpaper in this place where they stayed, and they could describe it and all that kind of stuff, which is quite mad. But anyway, it's quite I find it quite a mad thing. So where I'm bringing that down to the whole Rendlesham thing was where to that aspect he came out, and then when Simon Holland came out with the thing talking about that Rendlesham was potentially that, like a size stroke baiting exercise to bring something in. Yeah. Right. So if that's the case, one thing that stuck in my mind years ago was the story that Larry Warren told. So the story that Larry Warren told that he went somewhere else, right? So a lot of people forget this because you're so much looking at the Rendlesham story where you've got the triangular craft or whatever it was in the forest. Yeah. And you've got the whole kind of Larry Warren story I totally forgot about because he was poo-pooed to be a liar and all that kind of stuff, right? Yeah. I know people have got different thoughts on Larry Warren. I don't know where I am with it. You know what I mean? It's the kind of whole story in general has been a total mix because there's been too much disinformation and information put into it. But if you look at the story about Larry Warren had said originally, he said he stumbled across there was a camera, two different cameras. One was on film, one was on video, and they were recording something that he said came in, and then it basically turned into some type of craft on the ground, and there was like something there, and it was like a pearl essence stroke kind of colour. This thing there, and that kind of story to me straight away, it looked like, if that was true, to me it looked like prior knowledge of something coming. Prior knowledge of doing this, prior knowledge of something coming, prior knowledge of something this being done before, right? So they're knowing the fact that they need to use it on film and video in case the EMF, EMR would probably affect the technology or whatever they've got. So they've recorded it on like classic film and classic thing in that. And that kind of, it was the two things that stood out to me originally with the Larry Warren story. You know what I mean? That why that early on when he came up with the story, why state it was on two different, it was getting filmed on two different things as in film and that. And that stuck to me, the fact that if that's true, there's been prior knowledge to actually doing these type of things before and prior knowledge setting up this event to happen. And that ties in with what Simon Holland says, what he's been basically kind of digging into and stuff like that, and somebody's going to give him a bit of information as well.
But do you know what that brings me to? What you just said then, and digging that a little bit deeper, the Penturk incident in Wales. Yeah, because you had the military flying around. Kaz Clark's been on here and spoke about it. So was Gary Jones, and so the military knew that something was going to happen because there's all this military activity. Then it went quiet, and then these two, was it 3 green luminous barrel-shaped crafts come through, and then they shot at once. They tried to blow it up, and whatever they shot at had no effect. I said the best person or the best people to speak to about this are Kaz Clark and Gary Jones, and it's the same sort of thing. It's like they was waiting for this to happen. They knew it was going to happen. They didn't say anything to the public. They kept quiet, and then when it all started to happen, the military moved in. And there's I think it's 2-3 days after. I'm sure, was that 2000? That was 2004, wasn't it? 2004?
Yeah, I can't remember the date of that. I can remember the things where there was like after it as well. There was like supposed to be teams apparently in there. I've seen some of the chat saying anyone take Larry Warren seriously. I mean, if you look at the whole kind of story, because obviously people poo-pooed his story, but when you look at that part of it where he said that he'd stumbled across 2 different types of film getting produced and this thing was set up and then they got ushered away for it. I mean, I just found it like, why make that up? You know what I mean? To be involved
Yeah,
in it,
but-
stuff like that. I think as well, when looking at the whole story, it was as well was where there was teams of people landed there, and they were interviewing people, they were potentially making disinformation. I don't know. The thing is, we were supposed to be using sodium pentothal on people and things like that, and maybe putting stuff in their mind as well. I don't know if that's true, but that's what it kind of seemed to, and there was quite a lot mixed into it. But going back to the kind of Wales one, I don't know loads on that incident. I do know there was teams after it and stuff like that. And they were like going through the woods and all that kind of stuff. But
just going to say, with you saying about Larry Warren, I'm going to tell you something without actually telling you. Nicole,
here we go.
So he did and said something, that was completely bang out of art, nothing to do with UFOs or anything like that. I can't go into detail on here. So that's why I'm very I'm not saying he lied about what happened at Rendlesham, but you take it with a grain of salt.
I'm not saying it told the truth. All I'm saying is it links into that, and it always stuck in my mind about they two. Like, saying that stuck in my mind straight away. If that's true with the whole kind of different types of video getting done, why say that? He said that really, really early on. I mean, when on some of the very, very first interviews that came out about it on some of the older programs back in the day.
But could he have just said it? Oh, quick, think of something.
Maybe.
I tell you what. Shit,
Maybe.
I've got to stick with that now. Oh, look at me. I'm the government.
But
it's one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, no, but if this comes to light now, that potentially if Rendlesham was something like that, then it makes his story more true. If it was a fact that the Simon Holland thing that's came out, no, I mean, the kind of information about Rendlesham, if that's the case, if it was like psionics and all that kind of stuff, we don't know. I mean, now there's that much stuff coming out now. I mean, it's like you don't know what to believe in that aspect. I'm relaying this. I'm not saying I believe it all. I want to see the whites of his eyes in regards to the whole kind of disclosure process. We'll see what this new task force does. Trump set up, if that does anything. I'm not sure, but I find it interesting though, because some of the stuff kind of ties in and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, it's quite mad. I mean, you look at some of it. You know what I mean? The whole kind of thing as well, where the whole kind of psi assets and all that kind of stuff. That Simon Holland has said as well that Kit Green was supposed to have been brought in, right, to Rendlesham, right? So Kit Green has been like threaded through like this subject for like decades and decades and decades, right? So he worked at, as far as I can remember, like Stanford Research Institute at the same time as Hal Puthoff. Hal Puthoff went into private industry working, and Kit Green went to the CIA. And I think sure that one of Gary, what's his name again? Gary.
Heseltine?
No. Of America.
I don't know two guys.
Gary, what's his name again?
I know a lot of Garys, but
It'll come to me. The guy he works at Stanford Research Institute. So anyway, Kit Green has been involved in this subject, and he was in the CIA, but also working in kind of the university field and all that kind of stuff. He's been threaded through this whole subject to do with obviously the mind, the consciousness, the brain, all that kind of. Gary Nolan, I'm talking about Gary Nolan. One of Gary Nolan's mentors and stuff like that is Kit Green, right? So Kit Green was supposed to have been there at Rendlesham when this all took place, apparently. But he's been threaded right through this stuff. So Kit Green, when, for example, we talked about Jim Segala earlier on. Right? So when Jim Segala was working on the Uinta Basin, running about the ranch and stuff like that, he was working for Hal Puthoff and Kit Green. Right? And that's when they were putting like the sensors running about the Uinta Basin and all that kind of stuff. And then he was recording the correlation between the sensor readings and the people with sightings or having experiences and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? But before that, when they were doing stuff on the ranch, he was actually working for Hal Putoff and like Kit Green and stuff like that. So he's threaded right through the whole kind of phenomena. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So a lot
Yeah.
of stuff there. I mean, there's been so much kind of stuff happening. It's mad though. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see that the next thing I think you'll see coming out, which I can see some stuff probably, will be the whole thing about people from kids being brought into this psionics thing.
Right.
That's what I reckon you'll see. That'll be the next thing.
Yeah.
As in things coming out. I mean, as in people claiming to be like this, you know what I mean, and having a background in it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's the next thing you'll see happening.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's the thing. So I'm going Rendlesham in a few weeks. So when I go, I'm going to have a whole new outlook on it. So I'm not going to go in. Hey?
Go be a psionic asset.
So I'm not going to go in thinking, right, this is where UFO was. This is where this was. Even though I've had stuff go on when we've been there, like the flat orbs, we call them, the humming noise, energy coming from a tree that right out in the middle of the forest where there's no electric, no gas, no water, no pipes, nothing. Absolutely nothing. No overhead cables. So I've had all weird stuff like that go on. Hundreds, thousands of butterflies, crickets, and dragonflies on just one like 100, 200 meter stretch of pathway. It's like someone had dropped a window either side and they was stuck in the corridor.
Is that where the dead camel was?
Yeah, so the dead camel.
A dead camel?
No, it wasn't a dead camel.
It looked like a dead camel.
So Alex Lovelock, who does the lounge on a Sunday, you need to get him on your podcast because he'll send you the photos. And he took a photo and it looked like
a dead
giant
camel.
Yeah, but it's like a giant hairy fish. Right? Probably the size of a fully grown cow. But when he's taking the photo, and I believe Alex, he's got nothing to lie about whatsoever. I've met Alex 3 times at Rendlesham now, and we've gone to the same place, we've gone to different places, and unlike people pre-mentioned, his story doesn't change. It sticks the same. So he'll go, oh, was it here where I took the photo? Was it there? And he's trying to remember, because it was like about 15, 20 years ago that this stuff happened. So, but you go to these places, and it's the same every time. I seen the German soldier walking through the trees as we're walking the other way. There's myself, Mike Millward, Alex Lovelock. No, sorry, that was the second time. It's just me and Alex the first time, and we're walking down. The roast is like 40 degrees, and I just clocked something in the corner of my eye going that way through, and you know when you get an imprint of what it was. I got back, I had a look on website, and I put in World War II SS Nazi uniform, and it was exactly the same. The grey felt material, the way it was cut, the hat, the collar, everything about it.
Are the bases still operational?
Mad. Yeah, Woodbridges. I delivered to Woodbridge. What's the other? Bentwater. I'm not sure about Bentwater. But then you've got, they're not that near, but they're not that far either. You've got like Mildenhall and Lakenheath. They're right next door to each other. They're like probably about 1.5 miles, 2 miles away from each other. So you've got a lot of bases in one area. There's another one that I can never remember the name of it. But it's like I say, get Alex on, speak to Alex about it. But there's it looked like he called it a giant hairy fish. But he said if he'd have walked there, he'd have fell over it. But he said there was nothing there. He was just randomly taking photos. You can see like a monk or monks stood in a circle in the forest bit just at the side of where you come up to like a T-junction on the pathway. So
is it okay to walk around the site and stuff like that?
You can't get on the site. You can walk up to
I'm talking about like roundabout with the forest.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So if you go to Eastgate Car Park, literally where you park and everything's on the doorstep, Eastgate is right at the end of the runway.
Right.
And then you walk down, you can walk alongside it and you can see the hangars and that. All the hangars are open. And when me and Tim went last time, Tim come with me, And the time before that, I could hear like 2 females having a conversation.
Mhm.
There's no one else about. Then about 2 minutes later, 2 blokes come round, like hiking with the bags and sticks and all that, like proper ramblers.
Yeah.
But face was right up against the fencing, and I've got my camera on, I'm filming, so I don't get the fencing, so it's a clear shot and what have you. And we could see rabbits running about on the old runway and and all that. But there was nobody about. You couldn't see anyone. They might have had cameras. I don't know if they had speakers set up, but you could clearly hear like 2 females talking, say about 20 foot away. So you could hear the sound of voices, but you couldn't work out what was being said.
Mhm.
And that happened about 2-3 times. And me and Alex like, can you hear that? And
What's your
it's
thoughts?
definite. Sorry, go on.
What's your thoughts on? So I kind of some trouble with it. Know what I mean? Maybe some people in the chat have tried it, whatever else. But what's your thoughts on like CE5 and the psionic asset story? We'll just call it CE5 because it's relative.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's exact same. There's probably a lot of differences in it. But
I
don't I finish this? And I'll just like because if you are like potentially summoning something, right? Who's to say? And I always think the same as well. But even when you're doing, if people are doing like ghost walks and things like that, and they stand in a circle and they try and like basically say, can you come out and be here and all that kind of stuff. To me, potentially that I know it's no an actual ritual, right? But it's still performing some type of kind of ritualistic thing to bring something here, right? And it's the same as CE5. So, I mean, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it's like for me, I mean, I'm kind of on the fence with it. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I don't know. I'd like it to be kind of true, but you don't know what's coming through. If that's the case,
I'm on that path. I'm off the fence, and I'm halfway, about 100 yards down that path now. Only because we talk a lot about intent. I bring it pretty much every podcast that we do. I bring it up because it is a massive, massive thing, and the more you look into it, the more it stands out, and you start noticing things on a normal daily basis. Not just paranormal. I'm talking like going to work, going shopping, sleeping,
synchronicities.
Making something.
That's all the synchronicities.
Yeah. Last week, me and Nicole, we got a thing where we do the numbers. We got 111, 222, 333, 444.
We never got to 555.
Yeah, but Nicole looked into it, and once you get to 555 and up, 555 is change, and then it goes a bit more negative. Whereas
so where do you get the numbers from? Sorry, what was the numbers?
Oh, mine was. I got one. I sent Nicole the voice note.
I screenshotted, and it was
222.
I went to go text Danny. It was 222, and then he said, "Look at the voice message that I sent you before this," and it was 1 minute and 11 seconds.
Yeah. And then you got
wake it up at night when it's free.
No, well then she put in a sat nav to get home.
Yeah.
It was free. Was it free? 3:33 or free night? Yeah.
Yeah. 3:33 was my arrival time, and then you got 4.
Yeah. So in my van, I got 4:44. I've got cruise control in the van because I'm dead posh. Not really. It's just a van. And I normally set it like 50, 60, 65. Do you know what I mean? I never set it on like finger numbers. I keep it on a set numbers, like because a lot of the villages that go through, they've got speed cameras and that, or there's a lot of horses and cattle, so you do have to drive slow, a lot of windy roads and that. Anyway, I'm on a country road. Don't know why. Couldn't even tell you. I set it at 44 miles an hour, even though in the van you can do 50. It wasn't that bumpy. It was quite straight, and it was 4 degrees as well. So it said like speed set 44 and then 4 degrees. So I will have a look, see if I've still got the photo, because I had to pull up and take a picture of it because it's like no one's going to believe this. And I bet I can't find it now, can I? No.
had
Deleted it.
like synchronicities, had loads of synchronicities. We'll jump back to the CE5 thing in a minute, right?
Yeah,
But synchronicities where I've had stuff to do with the podcast and things like that, where you maybe was wanting to go down one rabbit hole, but you digress to something, but something pulls you back to that. Just kind of, I mean, I kind of think loads, but there's like a few really prominent ones where it was my son's confirmation. Is it communion or confirmation? Can't remember. It was one of them, whatever it is. I'm no Catholic myself, right? My kids are, my wife is. So I was brought up as Catholic, nothing against it, but it's a case where my kids are brought up as Catholic and stuff like that. So it was confirmation, sure it was. And I always, when I go to chapel with them in any sense, I'm just constantly looking around at everything, right? Because I see the same kind of type. It's like our religion and belief and stuff like that is the exact same intention, attention, ritual, and things like that, right? I mean, although it's in a positive kind of sense, it's the same, right? I see it the same, and I look at all the symbology in that when I'm in like a church or a chapel and have a look at that. So before I was going to the confirmation was at night. It was like 7 o'clock or something like that. So I thought, right, I need to get the dog out for a walk, right? So before I go to this, right? So I was working, got home, got the dog out for a walk, and I was thinking all the stuff. I was basically out in one of the country parks, middle of the forest, walking up, and it was light. I mean, it was like last year. It was light, and I was thinking of all the stuff going to the chapel. So I was getting thinking this going through my head. And something caught my eye. It was like something shining caught my eye. And I was like, I was thinking about this at the same time. I was thinking about like the symbology and going to chapel and all that kind of stuff. And I might have showed you this already, Andy. So I seen something shining. And somebody's probably left it there. But just as I'm talking about that at the same time, I see that, right? So there's a coin with the 10 Commandments on it.
Oh. No,
right?
I don't think you've shown me. I don't remember you showing me that.
It's a coin with I mean, you get these kind of religious coins and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
But it's got a prayer on one side and the 10 Commandments on another. And totally mad. I'm just thinking at that time, and I seen this glinting. You know what I mean? I seen this glinting, and
Wow.
Yeah, but who would leave that line about?
I don't know. I seen that. It was just glinting, and like I went and picked it up, and I was like, that's just totally mad. I'm thinking about that now. So I've kept that, right? And that was like last year. And there's another one as well where I was going back to watching The Leftovers. If you've not seen The Leftovers, quite a good show. It's basically it's about a rapture event, right? Where like a certain percentage of the population disappear, and it's the people who are left over, and it's all about that and stuff like that. So I've seen it years and years ago, and this is like probably a year and a half ago or something like that. Maybe not even as long as that. And I'm starting to watch that again because it's quite a good show, and I've seen it all in the past. So I was starting to kind of think about it and stuff like that. And then this is nowhere near that country park. This is like a opposite area. I didn't stay near that one, and I was like jogging along the canal, and there was a small book in a plastic bag sitting on the top of the wall, right? And it was about some type of kind of evangelical kind of church. It was all a book about the rapture event, about an up and coming rapture event that's going to happen to the world. You know what I mean? But it's funny because I had all that going through my head, and I was thinking about it.
Yeah.
And so I went past that, and I picked it up. I took it home. It's somewhere in the house. I don't need to actually kind of go through. But it's just all about the rapture event, and it's the same kind of thing as the Leftovers, right? But these small things like that. And the thing I think sometimes with synchronicity is almost like, so see the now, for example, if you are on your phone or you're on your computer and you maybe talk about something or you type something in, and let's see, you say washing machine, you know your phones are recording you, right? We all know that now, right? Your phones are recording you. You type something in, right? You type something in, and then it starts feeding you stuff. So I might have a conversation with my wife about the washing machine, and you start seeing washing machines coming through your feeds on the computer or whatever else, right? And things like that. So you get that happening, right? That happens. We know that happens, right? But So that happens quite a lot, and it's
Yes.
due to the fact that you sign a waiver on some of these apps you get that the phone can you use your microphone type of thing, right? So say use a microphone, you click it, and then that'll record you, and then it'll basically fire it into like add-in apps and all that kind of stuff, right? And that's how it all works, right? There's ways to take it all out, right? Anyway, where am I going with this? So these type of things, now you get that. So like I was talking to the wife about it, and she's not at the paranormal. You know what I mean? So, but she was just saying, it's happened to me quite a lot, and I'm getting to the point now where I've not even typed nothing in, I've not said it, and what I'm thinking is starting to come up, right? And I know there's probably other algorithms and stuff like that. It might be actually preempting what you have. So I'm an AI involved in it and whatever else, right? So there's some kind of things where I've had it as well, where I've been thinking of things, never say that, never put it in, and you're starting seeing feeds for you like, is that just happening because it's just a coincidence? But it's happening too often, right? And she was saying the same. So I was thinking that, like, let's say for example, with AI down the line, what would that type of thing with the algorithms and whatever else, what would that look like in 100 years?
Well, yeah.
Probably synchronicity.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or like 200 years.
But with you talking about that, I'll just quickly. So this was WhatsApp messages. So WhatsApp's encrypted. So it can't be listened to. It can't be spied on, apparently.
Supposedly.
Right? Yeah. So Nicole messaged me about this gnome house in Chester, just outside Liverpool. Right?
A gnome house, did you say?
It's like a museum type thing in it.
It's like a bar, and it's a gnome bar. They have like a giant...
so it's like a theme. It's a theme bar then. Yeah.
Like the bar stools are like little toadstools. It's very cute.
Yeah.
And
So
it was right after we had the gnome show.
Yeah, we had Kate Ray on, didn't we? From Nottingham. So anyway, 2 days later, I get an email from TripAdvisor. How was your trip to the gnome, the gnome house?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck?
You get that signing in thing. So that your location and all that, though. Your location of your phone.
No, but we didn't. All I did was look at it. This was just through message. We didn't talk. We didn't verbally speak about it.
That's the thing, though, because it's all recorded, and it's like that. Even if you go near the place or you're in the place, then your location pings, and it's like, how was that? So,
but hours from you?
I'm 3 hours away from Chester, so I wasn't even close.
Because I didn't know how far it was from you. I just saw it and it was like, oh, I'm going to send this to Andy. Look how cool this is. It's
I've put it's nowhere near where I am now, but it's only like an hour's drive from where I grew up in Manchester. And that was it. And it was just all text. There was no verbal conversation about it.
You imagine, though, no even putting a text in, because you could still put that down to the basically WhatsApp algorithms and stuff like that, right? Or being in the area or whatever. But when you've done the thing where it's happened to me, and I can't think of an instance, but it's happened to me and it's happened to my wife a number of times, and she's leading it paranormal, where you think of something and it starts feeding you. And that's what I'm saying, we're down the line, like let's say a couple of 100 years down the line, or even 100 years, or even 50, the rate at we kind of progress, that what would that look like? And it would look like synchronicity potentially. You know what I mean? Because it's like we are getting fed the stuff for the ether that you want to connect with. You know what I mean?
But as well,
like
another thing I read, going back to like looking at things in the future, when we talk using emojis and we don't use any letters, but everyone's done it, haven't they? Just done a few emojis and having a conversation. That's going to be the equivalent to hieroglyphs. People are going to look back and go, what the hell? What? And some scientist is going to be there that studied at university for 30 years trying to decode it. And it's basically my dog did it. Yeah, my dog did a shit.
No, they're going to be looking at this and being like, wow, these people really liked eggplants. Look how many times they use that emoji.
Yeah.
And have no idea.
Yeah, eggplants and donuts. That's all I'm going to say.
So going back to the CE5 stuff.
Yeah.
What I was getting at with that is, right, and I'm not saying I'll never try it or whatever. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing it. I'm not poo-pooing it in any sense. All I'm saying is, if for that aspect to potentially summoning something, people do this without protection. So if you believe in trying to bring something down or whatever else, and if you talk to somebody who's, for example, into Aleister Crowley or some of the other type of occults or basically Gnostic, they would basically turn and say, right, fine, aye, you're doing that, but I mean, what are you doing to protect yourself? Because you don't know what you're potentially bringing in, or if you do bring something in, if you're actually successful enough to do something like that and that do the work on yourself to actually be able to do it, then what are you doing to protect yourself against something, or how do you know you're bringing the right thing? There's a quote that Lou Elizondo said when, if you listen to Lou Elizondo and you believe what he says and stuff like that, well, basically he'd said that when people were talking about remote viewing, because he done a bit of remote viewing too, but he never used to talk about his early podcasts, and I knew he had. And people were talking about doing the CE5 and they're talking about Greer and things like that with him. And he says, well, be careful what you wish for if that's the case, because you don't know what you got to bring in. And to that point, as you look at some of the kind of stuff where what you could potentially be getting, we know this phenomena. You know what I mean? I'm not saying we know firsthand, right? Some of us do. You know what I mean? Had experiences with things, but we know the fact that, like, the abduction scenarios or UAP or whatever, all linked to stuff like poltergeist and whatever else. I mean, we don't know how it all mixes together. You know what I mean? We just know that if somebody's got poltergeist in their house, potentially could be getting visited by something else, and there's all that kind of intermingling. So who's to say what you're getting, and who's to say that thing is what it is?
Well, yeah, but I was saying about intent, and just because you're using intent to get what you want, when you're talking, when you're asking, when you're trying to contact a different energy that's not the same as you, you're still spellcasting, because it's like you're spelling words. And this is another big thing that we cover. I don't know that much about it. I know some of the basics, but a lot of stuff that we say is actually spellcasting. It's like lyrics to songs, as you know, because you've got the rhythm behind it as well, so it makes it more of a chant than just speak. So you've got that side to it. So everything you do is
intent. It's putting it out.
Intent, manifestation. Everything.
I mean, if you
CE5.
If you read the book, which is a really, really good book with Dean Radin, called Real Magic, that is really, really good. It goes through, obviously, it's explaining about like the ritualistic aspect of things and everything you do, effigies and going through the whole kind of process, the intention, attention, and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, and there's a lot more to his book, obviously, than that.
I've got that
really,
book.
Really,
I've
it's
actually
a good book.
It's
a good book.
I've got it on Audible.
I've read it a few times. It's a really, really good book. What was that? Sorry?
It's 8 hours long. I've got it on Audible. It's 8 hours long. So
it's really, really good. I've read it. I've listened to it a few times. I mean, I listen to my books now as well, because I don't get a lot of time.
It's easier, isn't it?
I don't get a lot of time to actually read books, so I kind of I'm on the drive and I usually just plug in and listen to something, or dog walking and things like that. But going back to what you said as well, so the whole CE5 thing, or psionic, whatever you want to call it, we're potentially summoning something, bringing something in, or are you basically creating it through like an egregore or a tulpa or something like that, and manifesting something in? You know what I mean? Because that's also a thing as well.
Well, this is one of my...
When we are out paranormal investigating, because like there's a bunch of people sitting around in a circle, like willing this device to go off, like you're sitting there waiting for it, focused so like intently on it.
Yeah.
Like, is it a spirit making it go off, or is it your thoughts projecting?
But this is... But my thought on that is, if it's not been manifested previously, then you manifest it. As long as someone or something is thinking about it, then it's going to still exist.
But
Go on, sorry.
No, on that, I was going to say, though, I was thinking about this today, because I'm not saying I believe that train of thought about manifesting UAP and stuff like that. It's actually bringing it into existence, right? With thought forums and things like that. Potentially, I mean, it probably looking at kind of quantum kind of way it goes to the side. You could potentially do that, right? But in regards to these kind of things being thought forms and bringing it in, I was thinking when you look at all the old reports, right? And I'm not going back to everything, but when you look at the old reports where it's like a ship in the sky that can fly, and it's got like sailors kind of coming down, like the old John Keel kind of things and stuff like that back in the day. And you think to yourself, well, if maybe somebody started that in regards to, that'd be good. That ship would be good in the sky and flying. So, I'm not saying that's what I believe, right? But I'm just saying there's an interesting train of thought with a lot of these different things where thought forms, manifesting stuff, or if you are bringing something in, where's it coming from? You know what I mean? That's the thing. I'm not just talking about manifesting something into existence. I'm talking about if you're summoning something for some type of ether or whatever, where is it coming from and what is it? And I mean, then you think to yourself, well, if they have got psionic assets or CE5 and they're bringing these things in, how does it all tie in with the abduction scenarios and what's happening there and stuff like that as well?
With you saying about the ship, saying that the paranormal's evolving, I'm kind of not agreeing with that. I'm not agreeing with it to a degree, because if you go back in time, so the people that were around would see things that they were familiar with.
Yeah.
So it's like there wasn't little greys, there were goblins, or there's little like fairies and all that.
Totally. Brownies, fairies,
whatever was popular at the time, that's what they'd see. So people back in 800, when there's ships, pirate ships and all that, they'd see ships in the sky. So is that some sort of smoke screen as to what they're really looking at? And as it's gone on, it's changed from, it's not evolved.
Just the perception.
It's what we're used to seeing. You can't imagine something that you've never seen before.
Well, back in the day,
or you can't create something you've never seen.
I was speaking to Richard Hendrick, brother Richard Hendrick, who's a Franciscan monk, right? And he's based in Dublin, and he knows a wealthy knowledge about the paranormal and just, I mean, unbelievable amount of knowledge. And so he was talking about in folklore where like the kind of fae and fairies and stuff like that, people used to put milk out for the fairies, so they would take that instead of some other. Well, he said it was like supposed to be that instead of like a bodily fluid like blood, but it might actually be another type of bodily fluid, right? So if you look at it in that sense, so if they would put milk out for the fairies. But that was probably just the perception of what they are back in the day. Obviously, we know that. I mean, it's been very through time where people would see like fae and that, and obviously it's just people are just looking at it as something like it's grazing if they're there or whatever. But where are they coming from? I don't know. It's interesting. We've not got the answers. I mean, that's the thing.
But I just think it's updated with what's going on in the current time. So it's like now we're not going to see ships in the sky. We're not going to see. I don't know. Can't think of anything else.
Pirate ship in the sky.
I wasn't around. You're not going to see floating castles and stuff like that.
Angels in the sky.
Yeah, a lot of it was, especially in a lot of these angels. Big, like Brazil in Rio. There's a lot of angels in the sky, or
where the gods,
Virgin Mary, all that kind of stuff. I suppose it depends on location and what your belief is.
I do find it hard sometimes to put like
I do
to square when you look at the whole UFO phenomenon, right? Probably going to try and stop using the word UAP, right? Let's go back to UFO, right? Yeah. So the UFO phenomenon, when you look at all that and everything tied round with it, phenomena and everything, right? It's like when you look at that aspect of phenomena or just phenomenology in general, and then you start looking at other stuff where you look at like exorcism and demons and all that kind of stuff. How do you square that into that same type of? I mean, it's when you look at stuff where I watched a film recently, and it's no real. It was based on like a real guy in that, right? That Father Gabriel Amori or whatever his name is, right? He was basically the Pope's exorcist. That's the film,
Right. Yeah.
right? Russell Crowe was in it, right? And I'm not saying the story might only be based on a true story, but it was a real guy. And I was listening to some of his books, and it was all about like exorcism, fighting evil, fighting demons, and all that kind of stuff. It's trying to square all that along with the UFO phenomenon. Where does it fit in? Is it a totally separate thing? I mean, it's because they bleed into each other where like just the certain type of phenomena happens, and it's like it's so hard to actually like square them together in any sense.
Yeah.
I just find it mad. You know what I mean? It pickles my brain at sometimes. You know what I mean?
But it's like vampires. Vampires were a really big thing, like 12th century up to like 18th, 19th century. Yeah, we still see it in films, but there's no big vampire input.
People don't think there's vampires roaming the streets.
Yeah, it's even though we have got a guy coming on talking about vampires in a few weeks, but that's besides the point. But that's what I mean. It was a fad at the time.
Yeah,
you
it's
know
not
what I mean?
Anymore, though.
Yeah. So it's like each not decade, but each period of time has its own set of rules of what was seen or what they encountered. Like Chris said, demons was like 16, 17, 1800s.
You still get stories. You still get stories like that. And I mean, I always think, we've spoken about this before, but I always think of demons being in people and things like that. And
possession.
As in like, not just possession, but just maybe people not alone or whatever. But I think of stories where you get like Bundy, the serial killer, Ted Bundy, the serial killer. And people who were interviewing him saying his eyes would go black. His eyes would glaze over and go black, and he would kind of rant about things and whatever else, and it just seemed like inherently evil. And there was like, I could always mind a story that stuck in my mind, and I had another one recently that's early as well, but a story where he was kidding on he was blind, right? He was kidding on he was blind or he was like partially sighted, and he was asking some woman to help him get to a hotel or something like that. So he knew this bit in this hotel. It was like, let's say, for example, the foyer bit, it was like 2 floors up, was empty. Yeah. And he was going to try and murder this woman up there or something like that. So he took her in and he wanted to go to this floor or whatever. He goes, I need to find somebody. So she took him up to that floor, and she said that he was in kidding and he was looking for this. She was actually looking through the phone book for him. And she turned around and she seen his eyes, and his eyes were like, she just said he looked. She goes, I got a really, really fearful feeling of this guy, right? Just something came over me. It was like we all know it was like the hair stand back your neck, the feeling of fear.
Yeah.
She goes, his eyes were black. These eyes were black, and he was kind of coming towards her, and then because he was next to her, it was like as if he was going to do something, and then the lift opened, and this bellboy came out, and said to the woman, or the girl at the time, You need to leave the now, right? So she jumped in a lift with him, right?
Yeah.
Went down, left him up there, went downstairs, and she walked out the lift, and the guy disappeared, right? The bellboy totally disappeared in front of her, disappeared. And then she went out and she ran away, went home, and then eventually she found out that was Ted Bundy. He got caught like maybe a year later or something like that. But that's a gen-up story.
Wow.
And there was another story as well where I heard this just in a podcast the other day there, and it wasn't even a paranormal podcast, where there was a couple who were going on a first date or something like that, and it wasn't going that great. It was kind of like just a bit awkward, nothing really happening. The guy, they were going to call it a day, and the guy said to the girl, look, you're going to find this totally odd, but do you want to go for a walk or a hike at this place? And it was like at night. They didn't have a torch or anything like that. And she said, I like going up and standing at this bit. You can see the stars and all that at night and everything. It's a wee bit of it's a nice place. And she was like, aye, let's go. So they went and they kind of walked through the trails and stuff like that to get to this. And they kind of were having more of a better kind of date and a joke and all that kind of stuff. And they were getting so further up and it was pitch black. You couldn't see. and they had this strange feeling just to get out of there, right? Like almost like the fear factor, like talking before.
Yeah.
And they were going to the two of them had the same kind of feeling, but they never said to each other, right? And they were kind of walking through the forest. I actually thought the story was going to be some kind of Sasquatch story or something like that, right? So they kept walking.
Well, that's what I'm expecting. You ruined it now.
Right. So they're walking up. Better than a Sasquatch story. So they're walking up, and they're getting more of this intense feeling of fear. They couldn't hear nothing like that or see nothing, but they were just getting this weird feeling. This guy had been there before and never had the feeling before. So they got so far, and the guy stood in something, right? It was soft, stood in something. And he was like, there's something on the ground here. I don't know. Then he heard a twig snap just at the side. And the two of them just thought, right, let's get out of here. And they turned around and just walked straight out of there and kept going, jumped in the car and then left, right? They eventually got together after the day, got married, all that stuff. And it was years later, when Ted Bundy was getting interviewed, and they said to him, did anybody ever come close to catching you or getting caught? And he said, well, one time I had killed somebody and I had them in whatever the forest was, and I was just kind of pulling them off the trail. And a young couple came in and they stood on the girl, and then they, without looking down, they just turned around and walked straight back out again. He goes, I would have to have killed him to actually try and obviously like cover up the secret. He said, but they just walked straight back out, and it was that dark they couldn't see nothing. But it was years and years later where they actually heard about the story. But it's just mad where they could actually feel something first before actually hearing anything or kind of seeing anything. I digress.
But imagine being that couple though, and finding out years later that you stood on a body and the killer was feet away from you.
Yeah, totally mad. But that's the whole kind of thing of this, like feeling like that kind of fear. But
I was going to say, are we all right to go for a break? I need to get a drink because
cool. Go for it.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
We'll do about 3 minutes, and then we'll carry on. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Right. So I'm just going to kick us all off and then play Darren's music. So
sounds good.
We'll see you guys in about 3 minutes. Whatever it was I said, I don't know. Right.
If you would like to help to support the channel, you can do this by joining the YouTube membership or Patreon, which both have a number of different tiers, or you can donate via PayPal. Links are in the channel description. This episode will also be available as audio wherever you listen to your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Podbean, etc., as well as being available on Audible. Super Chat and Super Stickers are now active. Please put all questions in caps and start with an emoji.
On mute as well, and we're
Hi.
back.
We're back.
Oh yes,
Feel better?
flawless.
We didn't get a countdown though, but that the little
See,
voice helps.
Yeah, I get a countdown on my little stream deck, but obviously you, because you're not here, you can't see it.
Sorry, I'm not fancy. I don't have Stream Deck.
It just makes it easier.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So thank you. Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us, Chris. Where do you want to go now? Do you want to carry on with what we were talking about?
One thing I was wanting to kind of talk about, I know we're just kind of doing a bit of a general kind of chat type thing, is thoughts on the whole 2027 thing. I can probably spoke about this before. Apologies, Bim Jim. I know I was saying he couldn't understand me that well because international, but that's still in the name Scottish. I'll try and slow down a bit.
Yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
So the whole 2027 thing, backstory to it, if you don't know, a lot of you probably know in the chat, whatever else, but there's been some type of date banned about over the last couple of years in regards to some event that's going to happen in 2027 or beyond. Some of the main ones has been talking about the event 2027. Started off with John Ramirez, ex-CIA guy, came out. Quite a really plausible guy for what he knew, knowledge, everything else, experiencer. And he, in one of his podcasts, or a couple of his podcasts, said that he knew in an official capacity that there was going to be an event in 2027, right? An official capacity. He then said in a later podcast that this is potentially like a contact event in 2027. And they're going to show up, and so that's why the disclosure process has been pushed out as quick as it is, and why it's been allowed to happen. Lul Elizondo's been asked about that as well, and he said that that he knows about an event, right? And people also asked him, "Is this Apophis?" in regards to the asteroid and stuff like that, and he said, "No, it's not Apophis." But I do know about the event, and it's not my place to tell people. So just want to know if you have got any thoughts on it, if you've heard about it, and what you kind of think, if you think it's bullshit.
I have. No, I have. But it's when, like you said, the last bit you said, it's not my place to tell you. But that's if it is their place to tell us. Mm-hmm. Don't just give us like half a story. It's like me saying, right, I'm going to go to the shop. I'm going to buy some things, right? Say we all live together. Well, what are you going to buy? You'll find out later. You'll find out when it happens. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's
a couple of hoodies and a hat and a trucker hat.
Yeah. But you know what I mean, though. It's like, don't say it's not for you to tell us. If you are one of them people in the know, then you should be telling us or giving us some sort of clue. Don't just say anyway. I could say I know. There's something happening in 2028. And I know exactly what's going to happen, but I'm not telling you what.
Yeah, I mean,
there's no proof there at all. There's nothing to come from.
What do you think, Nicole?
I don't know. Like, it's like those people who post those TikToks with all their predictions and then go back and delete it if they don't come true.
Everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
they're
everybody.
like, oh, this crazy thing's going to happen on New Year's. And then it doesn't. They're like, just leave.
Well, do you know what I've started doing? I don't care anymore. People have been doing it on Facebook, and if I'm friends with them, I mark it down. This sounds sad and anal, but I don't care. If it doesn't happen, I delete them.
Yeah.
Because it's
Lead all
all
the
to
false
do.
prophets.
But it's all what we're doing. It's all to do with the paranormal, UFOs, everything, right? And they'll go, something big is going to happen in a certain part of the world, a certain day, certain time, blah, blah, blah. They happen. Bye. Unfriend.
Yeah. So
don't care because it's bullshit.
It is.
my kind of take on it in regards to, so a few people it's came out for. So Chris Bledsoe had said that there was going to be some type of contact event in 2020, end of 2026, 27, right? Or something, or some type of event. I'm not sure what Chris Bledsoe said in that regard, but he said there's some type of event going to happen 2026, 2027. John Ramirez had also said that there was going to be some type of contact event in 2027. Lou Elizondo said he knows what it was, but he's not going to, it's not his place to tell us. And so here's my take on it, right?
Yeah.
If it's, let's say for a minute, this is true, whatever it is, right? It has to be something. So where are they getting this information for a start? Who's telling them that? Is it just for somebody higher up that they trust that's told them this, and they take it as God's? Apart from Chris Bledsoe, because he's probably got that information from somebody else, unless it was relayed to him through NASA contacts and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
So if you look at it in this aspect, there it came from somebody for higher up in the chain who they trust and believe, right? It's came from some type of celestial thing that they can see, right? That they can see with the technology they've got. So the only thing I can see is they're predicting something celestial. So it's going to be something solar, something coming from far away that nobody else can see, but they've got the technology to see it, or something like that. Because when you look at other types of events, what you think it could be, you're like, you can't predict anything. I mean, you can't really predict anything. It's hard to predict stuff. You know what I mean? So it's the only things you can predict future events for some, if it's a catastrophe or calamity or something like that, is something coming far away that you can see coming. Yeah. Right? Like it's going to be celestial or something like that. And
you've got to have visuals on it.
The thing is, John Ramirez and all that kind of stuff, have they actually seen the video stream for this, like big telescope that's looking at this thing coming towards us? Or are they just going with the knowledge that somebody's told them, oh, by the way, 2027, they're turning up, you better be on it. You know what I mean? So I don't know, but you get stuff like this banned about quite a lot. And then, I mean, I look into it quite a lot, and I look into a lot of kind of stuff and analyse what they say, and you look at like things going back in the past with his somber statement and loads of other stuff he said as well. And you're like, what does he know? I mean, and then you think, who's actually told him this? So I don't know. I mean, you get this thing now with this asteroid that's coming now in 2020. It's basically coming in 2032, but it's going to be passing in 2027, I think it is, and they can get a better idea. So the interesting thing with that is, so when you look at that whole thing, right, with that, which it was only discovered in December, 25th December 2024, and it's round about Christmas again when it actually hits, right? It'll be like it's 2032, it's supposed to be around about Christmas again, right, when it hits. No, if it does hit or passes, right? Yeah. Interesting thing with that, if that's just been found, fine. But when you look before that, bear with me now, right? When you look before that, there's another DART mission, right, that's been in the workings for a while, right? If you don't know what the DART mission is, the DART mission before was when, I think it was NASA or whatever, sent up a probe, and it was going up to see an asteroid, and they crashed into an asteroid to basically see if it could nudge the asteroid slightly, so it would basically change because all they need to do, if a ball's coming at you from a mile away and you just touch it, it's going to miss you. You know what I mean? But if it's coming right close to you and you try and touch it, it's still going to hit half your face. You know what I mean? It's kind of that aspect of that analogy. So that happened years ago with the DART mission, and there's another one set up for 2020, well, basically 2027, but it's been in the mix for a while with China doing it. They're doing a DART mission. So I kind of try and put two and two together and try and say, well, it's
Yeah.
that set up because they know something and they're putting a dark mission. They're setting it up to actually try and get whatever's coming to try and nudge it or whatever. So all these type of things. It's just my brain working overtime.
No, but with you saying about the asteroid in 2027, I was actually reading something on that the other day, and it said, this always makes me laugh when they put stuff like this. There's 50% chance it's going to hit us. Oh, yeah, it's either going to hit us or it's not.
Or it's
No,
not.
it's like a 3% chance or something.
Yeah, but this headline was this 50% chance it's going to hit Earth. It's the size of a, what did you say? An
Coconut.
SUV or something. No, it's size of a big car, small van. So it's not
Even
massive in
size
size.
asteroid could do a lot of damage, though.
Yeah, but it's traveling.
There's a lot bigger one than that. There's a bigger one as well. It's a city killer. Which basically, there's a bigger one than that, which is the size of, I'm sure it's like the size of a football field. And it's like a city killer.
Right, oh, this one I read was the size of a large car SUV or something. So,
well, this one is supposed to come past in 2027 and then come back again in 2032, and potentially the actual, it started off to be something like 1%. Now it's going up to 2%. Now it's roughly about, I think it's like 2.3 or 2.8 or 3% or something like that. It's going up because they can. Apparently, they can actually analyze it better. Like the far time comes on and stuff like that. But I don't know. We'll see how it all kind of pans out. But you've got Apophis, which is coming past in roughly about the same time, 2029. That goes back in 2032 or 3. And that was rumoured to hit Earth as well, which is really, really close. And that's basically a planet killer. And a guy for Lockheed Martin back in the day, like going back years and years and years ago, said that in 2029 or whatever, like Apophis is going to basically, it's going to destroy Earth. He said that like years, I'm not trying to alarm him, but he said years ago, but apparently it's going to miss us. All right. So
well, this is how unless they get pulled into the Earth's gravity, I suppose the Earth's gravitational pull. If it's going past, how is it coming back?
Because it's in an orbit. It's in a basically elliptical orbit.
That was the next question.
Comes out past the Earth, comes back again, and it'll kind of spin round. So eventually, people think it might hit the moon. But we'll see how it goes. That was just one anyway. So the whole 2027 thing, and then linking it in with that, don't know what it could be. Contact event, is it just bullshit?
There we go. What's it going to do if it misses? Turn around and keep doing it until it hits us. Well,
it's like a string. It's a conker. It's like on a string.
Well, that's what it is. But going back to what you were talking about earlier about they were saying about manifestation, right? And where are these ETs coming from? I sent Nicole a load of reels before on Facebook, and it's all to do with Inner Earth, Antarctica. I don't know if you looked at them, probably just deleted them.
I didn't look at them yet because I came right from work.
All right, so it's all to do with Antarctica, and more people are pointing out to flat Earth. I'm not on that plane yet, but I'm not saying I'm not saying I won't be.
I like the pun. You're not on that plane.
Oh, yeah, pun unintended. But no, I'm not. I get where everyone's coming from, but there's more and more professionals that are stating this, and it's like, it's just too much. It's too much ancient text pointing towards it as well. Like the old maps that were you can see that they were used, like the NASA symbol and all that kind of stuff. There's just, have a look at it for yourselves. There's just thousands and thousands of different places you can go with it. But
you talk about flat Earth.
Yeah, inner Earth, flat Earth. It's like inner Earth, flat Earth. So I've moved away from the asteroid now. But going back about where are they coming from? Yeah, if they are coming from outer space, these aliens, and they've got all this different craft, and some people are saying that these crafts are 2, 3, 4 miles long, especially the long cylinder ones. Who is making them? Where are these spaceships being manufactured? Because they've got to be built somewhere and they've got to be maintained. And I've asked this question before. Where are they being built? Who is it? it's stupid, but is it like a car MOT every 3 years? You got to have it serviced and get your wipers done and all that. But it's a genuine question. Where are they being made?
I reckon they've been growing.
But are they not? This brings me to back to manifestation. If you're manifesting it, then you can create whatever you want, how big or small you want, shape, color, everything.
True.
Because surely there'd be bits falling off him when they're flying over. I don't know. I'm just thinking, you have a car after so long, it starts.
Timu off planet. That's where they get made.
But you have a car, and eventually bits start falling off it, no matter how well you look after it. Yeah, you'll get bits falling off because it happens. So why is this not happening to ET crafts?
Well, it does. I mean, they do like expel molten stuff and things like that, apparently, and they do drop things off. So that happens. But I find it interesting that. So let's say, for example, there was some type of knowledge that there's going to be a contact event in 2027, right?
Yeah. And
it's been hidden for the public, hidden for inner workings of government and all that kind of stuff. And there's only a small select few know about it, which are probably in the industrial kind of like military industrial complex. Spit it out. Military industrial complex, right? So let's say that. I find it interesting that Oumuamua, that large celestial object that came in, right, the outer solar system, and then kind of disappeared, which Avi Loe purported to potentially possibly be some type of craft or something like that, right? Big, massive kind of craft. It's interesting that happened around about the same time when it was like sighted as the disclosure process started. 2016, 2016. There's no much in the dates between them. That's when the whole disclosure thing kind of kicked in and then came out and all that kind of stuff.
I do have another theory on it as well. If these crafts are organic, so they can, like Chris said, they can grow. They can change shape. So if they're some sort of alien biomechanical being, then maybe they can shapeshift and grow, expand, retract, all that kind of stuff. Like,
Could you imagine having that conversation with somebody who's no into this topic at all, and you're trying to explain it UFOs to them, and you go through some of the shit they've just spoke about?
Yeah, I don't like
get out. Get out. Space and time as we know it, then why would they be bound to stay the same shape and size?
That's it. So if they go into different dimensions, depending the dimensional rift that they're in or they're from, that might have something to do with how we perceive them to what they actually look like. A bit like the TARDIS. So it looks like a small telephone box. You walk in and there's rooms and rooms and rooms that go on forever. That's like, apparently that's what the fourth dimension looks like in the third dimension. I was watching a video on it the other day, and it's that kind of thing. So what if that is something that is possible, and that's why we don't see them how we should see them, because that it's restricted.
Interesting.
That's all I've got. It doesn't get any deeper than that.
I mean, I think
Supernatural.
Sorry.
Did you watch Supernatural, like the show?
I have done, yeah.
No.
How the angels have to like be in like a human vessel or like take human form, because if you saw them how they actually look, your like brain would explode and your eyeballs would burn out.
I mean, that whole concept as well, where I mean, we're obviously, a lot of people know we're just vessels anyway, with a soul and things like that. But when you look at the whole, always going to Bob Monroe, if you read his stuff, you know what I mean, for going into the astral and all that. I mean, there's like, that's kind of, we're here to learn, and it's like people just, all we're doing is occupying these spaces, you know what I mean, in these bodies and stuff like that. That's mad. I mean, the whole Robert Monroe stuff. I mean, I find it totally fascinating and interesting.
Yeah.
Because from what if you read his books, no, I go right into them, but if you read his books and all the stuff that he purported to experience and his experiences, and he was key some of the technology to make remote viewing a lot easier for people in the military to do with the hemisync technology and stuff like that. So I found all that interesting. I was going to tell you, I spoke to Mark about this earlier on. I spoke to you, I mentioned you briefly about it when I was talking about meeting an older ufologist today.
Yeah.
So there's a story I've told before, and I found it quite interesting. So what would your take would be, before I tell you that, right? And I know you know a wee bit about it, but if you seen a craft and you ask, basically, you go to the kind of military to say, I've seen this craft. And if the military didn't have a craft there or anything like that, what would they say? I mean, would they turn around and just say, no, it's no us, blah, blah, blah. It's obviously no defence significance to us and stuff like that, right? So the story is, I've read this before, I'm not going to go through into mega detail, but in one of the local towns I'm from, there was a sighting back in '94 where there was a guy up watching an electrical storm, seen a craft come in. It was like late at night, it was like maybe 10:30 at night or something like that. I seen a craft come in, and it looked like it was going to crash in an adjacent field. It was up in plain fields at a school, high school, and it looked like it was going to crash in the field or land in the plain fields. So this didn't happen. It was kind of further over. It went down behind some trees or something like that. So he drove into the next town and drove up a road parallel with the high school, right? About a mile, probably 2 miles away, further over the fields, right? Just farmers' fields and stuff.
Yeah.
So he couldn't see the craft, drove up to the craft, drove up this road, and as he was driving, the craft came over the top of his car, right? And what he seen was matte black, looked like a Toblerone, right? So if you can imagine what a Toblerone, the sweet looks like, it's like a prism shape, which is like a triangular prism and a length like 40, it was like actually 40 foot long, about 20 foot wide at the back, 15 foot high, and it had a kind of point to it, right? And all the edges are rounded, right? So really kind of interesting shape and stuff like that. But he's seen this thing just hovering 15 feet above the ground. He was watching it. He phoned the police, and he actually said to the police that there's been some type of air accident or something like that. And he just said this thing's sitting there. He didn't know what it was, what he was looking at. And he had a halogen light in his car. This is 94, remember, right? So he had a halogen light in his car, plugged it in, shone it on the thing, and it stopped working. So I actually thought the bulb blew in it, but it didn't. Because I was talking to the guy today, right? So it just stopped working. So he went into his car to check if it was plugged in right. But the interior lights of his car was off as well. He then went round, his car wouldn't start, right? It was totally dead. So tried to phone the police again a few times, couldn't get his phone to work. Eventually got his phone to work, phoned them, and then they came. And as they were coming along the road, eventually they came. The actual craft backed out over the top of his car. This kind of long black, triangular shaped, kind of prism shaped craft backed out and then kind of shot off. And the police interviewed him, right? They thought it was credible. They thought he was telling the truth. He wasn't drunk or anything like that. The inspector was there. The chief inspector was there. There was about 3 police cars turned up. And then basically they towed his car away and stuff like that. And the next day his car just started. That night, in fact, his car just started. They got the AA to tow it away. They couldn't find nothing wrong with it. There was no wires burnt. It was like the battery was still fully charged. The car just wouldn't work. Then eventually, during the night, the car started working. So that was kind of generally the story. Interesting story. A lot of kind of weird things happen in this area. There's been a lot of kind of sightings and stuff like that. That was one of the main kind of prominent UFO stories of the day. The interesting thing was as well where the UFO investigator back in the day, a guy called John Jenkins, he went and drove how far it was from the academy, the high school, to this area, and it was 8 minutes.
Right.
So he thought he'd seen it about 11 o'clock-ish, right? So he thought, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt, drove there, it was maybe 12 o'clock or something, right? The guy thought it was only there 20 minutes watching this event, stroke craft type thing, right? And when he phoned the police, the transcripts, when he phoned the police, it was 1:20. So he lost at least like about an hour and that. Like, if he even said, they gave him the benefit of the doubt he'd been there at 12, but he probably wasn't. He's probably there at like 11:30 or something like that. He reckons he's lost about an hour and a half of time, right? We've seen this thing. And he had a dream about being inside the thing as well that night, right?
Mm.
And so that was the whole kind of story. Police believed him and all that kind of stuff. Quite a credible guy. But the interesting thing with the story is the police at the time, the chief inspector, they went and checked the flights at because like we've got Edinburgh Airport, which is about 25 miles away. They checked air traffic control. There was only 3 flights in that area that night. One had been passed before it, and 2 later on. And Andy seen them and he was waiting for the police, right?
Yeah.
And there's no lot of other traffic there because it's like a flight corridor for like air traffic coming for the actual airport, the main airport and Edinburgh Airport, basically. So they contacted the military, right? And I spoke to this old UFO investigator days, an older gentleman who investigated a lot of stuff back in the day. Can't find a lot of stuff online because it was before pre-internet. So I was talking to him about the story and stuff like that, and he said when we contacted like the military, they came back with like a cock and bull story, and I said, what was it? And he didn't have a lot of good things to say about Nick Pope. He basically said that he got a letter, it was for Nick Pope, and this was back in '94, basically saying that they had 2 RAF jump jets in that area that night, and that's what you've probably seen, and it's for no defence significance. You know what I mean? So interesting to say, like, you would just, there's no other type of place you would see RAF jump jets. Never ever seen any kind of military planes flying about there. You get the odd helicopter now and again, but apart from that, you just wouldn't get it like at that time of night. It was during a lightning storm as well. A couple of Harrier jump jets just floating about in a field. Doubt it very much.
No, it might be that's what he was told to say.
Yeah, totally. I mean, that's it. I mean, that's what Nick Pope's been told to say. But I found it interesting just that they've actually came back and said that rather than say there's nothing in that area, we don't know, and then say it's for no defence significance, but actually saying they had planes in that area that night. I found that interesting. That's maybe to me, is that prior knowledge of them maybe having something there, or knowing something was there. And doing that, so
same thing again, isn't it? It's like that guy that I was chatting to a few weeks back. He'd seen some triangular objects in the sky, took photos, and when he went to view the photos either that night or the next day, it was just blank pictures on his phone. They'd been wiped off. There was nothing on there.
They had the pictures prior.
Yeah. So he took the photos. He looked at them at the time. Took about, he said about 5 or 6 photos, and then the next, there's nothing on there. Him and his mate, both phones empty.
I've heard of that before. I've heard of that same thing happening a few times.
Yeah.
That. I mean, and there was an interesting thing I thought from that story I just told. I was up. Another one as well, like, no far for that. I was looking at making a video, right? I was making a bit of video, and somebody else came to with a story. And the story, that was the thing with the 2 beings in the craft, which it wasn't far from here as well in 2019. And the interesting thing with that, when the witness came to me originally, it took him a few weeks to come to me, came to me, and gave me his details and stuff like that. He wanted to meet that night, but I couldn't meet him that night. Because it was like he basically had like stuff on with the kids and all that, and I was working away the following week. So I said, "Look, I'll phone you next Friday, and then we can arrange to meet that weekend."
Yeah.
So that was kind of set up and stuff like that. And then I was working away, came back on the Friday. Never happened before. On the Friday, 5 o'clock on Friday, my phone factory reset itself. Right, so I lost his number. Yep, just totally factory reset itself. I lost any new number I put on it in the last like 4 or 5 months or something, but I still retained older numbers, but the rest of them were gone. So his number was gone, right? And I had no way to contact him. So the original person who asked me for my number, I only gave him mine. I didn't take his number, and he passed it to the gentleman, an older gentleman, and he relayed the story. A total interesting story. But anyway, and so I had no way of contacting the guy. And I kind of thought, what am I going to do? And it was like, I was just busy. Then you're going back on your kind of normal life, and it pops in your head now and again. It was like 2 weeks later or something. And I was at the place, Cairn Papel, where with the dog, which another area where like kind of weird things happen, stuff like that. It's like burial mounds and stuff like that. And it's like a hen.
Yeah.
And I was up there, and I was during the day, and I was kind of thinking about the guy and the story. And I kind of thought to myself, I can get his number. He left me a message on my voicemail, and his voicemail will be in there, and that will be recorded. That will be in there somewhere, and you can basically get the number out of that. So jumped in the car. I hadn't done it yet. I thought I'll need to do that later on. Jumped in the car, drove down into town. Must have been maybe 45 minutes later. The guy phones me out of the blue.
Wow.
And I hadn't even phoned him. I looked at his number. But I was thinking, I'll get his number and phone him. And he phoned me out of the blue. And then that's how we go back in contact again. But I just found it interesting, the fact that my phone just factory reset itself, just like before I was going to go and talk to him. But it could have been a synchronicity, a coincidence, for example. But I just found it mad, the fact that I'm going to contact that guy that night. 5 o'clock comes, bang, phone's just wipes. You know what I mean? Factory reset.
Yeah, because you've got to put password and everything in on a factory reset. You can't just do it.
Mm-hmm.
So
just done it.
That's weird. That on its own is just weird.
Yeah, totally. I mean, then I'm contacting him at the blue, but just be thinking about it. I mean, honestly, I literally jumped in my car with the dog. I drove down into town. I was doing a couple of things, and then he phoned me at the blue. And I didn't even tell him the whole story about like my phone factory resets. It just sounded bollocks as an excuse.
Yeah.
I just said, like, I lost your number, and I didn't go through and tell him all that story because it just sounded like shit. You know what I mean? But I genuinely, phone factory reset, and I lost his number, and it wasn't until he actually phoned me back that I got him. But I was ready to. I can't remember that number though. Then he phoned me. But mad.
Some sort of link. There's got to be.
Totally. Totally.
Yeah. Right, Nicole. Do you want to ask Chris a question? The question. You've gone mute. We can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Why did I mute it?
Hear you now.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
That was weird. I wasn't muted.
No, I checked at the bottom and it's all fine, but can't hear you.
Anyway, so the big question that we ask everybody is, if you could know everything there was to know about the paranormal, would you want to know?
Yeah.
No, Chris, you let us down.
No, you are on team yes. But then Andy goes and tries to talk people out of it.
Yeah, so I go a bit deep. It's like, so you personally can go and find out everything there is to do with the paranormal. Yeah, all the connections, what's connected, what's not, why it happens, how it happens, all that.
I think no. I mean, no, I cut you off. Sorry, on you go.
That's right. I was just going to say, once you find out, that's it. So there'd be no more doing podcasts. There'd be no more asking people. There'd be no more asking people questions because you know the answer before.
It would give you the answers to everything in regards to like life after death and like what everything's about. That's what it would answer. I'm not thinking about. I would find out about UFOs and aliens. That'd be the least of my kind of thing. But I think if you knew everything about paranormal, it would answer the questions about life after death and about why we're here and what we do. Yeah. So that's why I want to know it. But I think you can know that anyway if you basically work.
But do you not think it's more keeps you on your toes trying to work out what it all is?
Nope.
Yeah, I mean, didn't get me wrong. Do you ever get? I mean, I get like peed off with the subject, and some days I just think because I think about it a lot. Yeah, and as I say, that I try and have a break for it now and again, and because there's loads of different aspects of it and a lot of different stuff I read and I'm into and whatever else. So I don't believe everything I read.
No.
And as I say, when I talk about stories, I'm saying if you believe that, because like I might not believe it myself. I'm just saying the story's out there. I'm not talking about the story I've just relayed. I'm talking about maybe if I'm relaying the Jake Barber story and talking about that, I'm not saying I'm totally fully on it because I've not seen evidence. You know what I mean? If they get a craft and it's in a lab and there's actual scientists there who are trusted and stuff like that and saying this is this, then I'm like, right, fine. But it's hard to look at evidence these days, even with the fact if somebody shows you a good video, whatever else, everything can be faked. I mean, nothing. I mean, if you got a good Polaroid back in the day, I was thinking this today actually, back in like the 90s or 80s, I mean, with a UFO photo, that was brilliant. But you look at what you can do now. I mean, you just you don't know what to trust or what you can actually take as gospel.
Oh, no.
You know what I mean? Unless you actually take the picture yourself and see whatever it is yourself, and even at that, it's still to answer. But I do get peed off it now and again, and I think to myself, just come away from it.
Yeah,
because like, come back out the rabbit hole, because it's like,
yeah.
But you know what it's like? It's almost like, it's a kind of a bad way of saying it, but I mean, it's like an analogy. I'll use an analogy. It's almost like a really, really good soap that you need to watch and follow, and you didn't want to miss that episode where something happens that you're going to miss. And I'm not saying it's all like that, but it's like you're trying to find out on this kind of road and it's going to answer some kind of question. And I don't know, it's kind of like that. It's kind of got the same feeling of that where I didn't watch soaps, right? But it's,
I know what you mean. Yeah, it's ongoing. Yeah.
When you're looking at feeds, you're reading books and you're actually looking at podcasts and stuff like that. It's kind of like that. You're just trying to find out a wee bit more and put these links in place that will maybe work some sense in your brain. So you kind of like, watch that. He said that, linking that to that, and it makes a bit of sense to you. And every now and again, you get these eureka moments where something clicks, and then it maybe actually give a eureka moment to something that's happened in your life as well. And you're like, well, that kind of makes sense to me a wee bit now, and things like that. So,
but then when you get that, do you then not get like the opposite to that? You watch something, it's like, well, that completely wipes out everything that I thought about that. It's something new now.
I mean, that could, or you maybe get some where there's been somebody proven to be a total bullshitter or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And stuff like that, where I don't, as I said, I don't believe everything I see and read and watch. I'll take it all and digest it, and then maybe take bits of it, and look at who's vouching for these people and all that kind of stuff as well, and just try and make my own mind up with kind of watching everything they're doing and that, you know what I mean? But I mean, you're looking at some of these. I know a lot of people have got a lot of issue with recent whistleblowers, even going right far back as Luis Elizondo and stuff. But I mean, I know a lot of these people are intel people, but they need to be some of the best actors in the world to actually continually go on and talk this in some of the podcasts and be honest and all that kind of stuff. And you think to yourself, well, if you're knowing you're bullshitting, then you're going to do yourself so much a disservice with doing this in life, you know what I mean? Even though if you think it's for the greater good of humanity. So I tend to kind of veer on the point where, like, I'd say a good majority of them are potentially maybe telling the truth for what they believe.
Yeah.
So
I think it's all down to self-belief, because I find that I'm becoming more of a skeptic than anything. I'm believing less. I still believe what I believe, but the more I see and read, not everything in Earth is real, but the more I see and read, it's like, no, I can't take that. There's too much information or description.
there's loads now. That's the thing.
No, but I mean, so say one person's talking and they're going into every single little bit of detail about their encounter. Straight away, I'm thinking, you're not going to remember that. You're just going to remember the key points of it. Unless you go back or you experience it again, you're not going to remember like the exact time or what socks you were wearing and all that kind of stuff. But
that's what gives the story's validity. It's when you actually say, like, I don't know, I don't remember.
Yeah,
like
they're the real ones. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do think sometimes though. having a break for it and no, I mean, a wee while there, I used to look at Twitter's kind of turns quite negative. I mean, for the stuff that I kind of watch in regards to it, it just seems a lot of shit in it now, right? And I deleted my account off Twitter, and I went back and reinstated it again. You know what I mean, because you still want to, because some of the people follow, you'll maybe getting that feed for Twitter, but it's not to say I'll go back and delete it again. I mean, I'm not a great Twitter poster and stuff like that, but it's like some of them, maybe the people you follow on Twitter, to get some information that you would generally not get anywhere else. And I've just kind of found it to be sometimes the stuff on it now is, there's a lot of shite in it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of shite everywhere. But
sorry, well, that's like, I got rid of TikTok. Oh, it's fine. You swear as much as you want. TikTok's gone, but I've gone back onto LinkedIn because there's some people on there that don't use any other platforms.
There are.
And when you mentioned, when you mentioned Chris Bledsoe earlier, I know he does Facebook and that, but I've messaged him on Facebook, I messaged him on LinkedIn, and he replied to me on LinkedIn. Yeah, there's a few people that it's a better route to go down.
Yeah,
like
Paul
Hynek's on there as well, and a few others that don't do a lot of social media.
Mm-hmm. So and the thing is as well, when you look at social media, I mean, sometimes when you're tracking people down, it's hard to actually get the right account sometimes, because like there's like multiple accounts of the same person, and like there's like just fake accounts and shit like that, and you get befriended by people who are just know who they say they are and stuff like that as well.
Yeah. I get someone will add me, and I think, oh yeah, got whoever mutual friends. Hi Andy, have you heard about the new government scheme, the insurance? Like delete.
Not even. Or they invite you to the Illuminati.
Oh, I've been invited to the Illuminati twice now.
Yeah.
So yeah,
but the
first guy, he wanted me to send him $3,000 for the robes because you got to buy your own robes. I'm like, nah, I'll send you 20. I'll send you 20 quid. Well, it's going to cost a little bit more than that. I'm not interested. Then bye. Never heard from him again.
I wouldn't be spending. Some people will though. You know what I mean? Some people spend that kind of money.
Yeah.
I remember I got one from a guy. I've still got the screenshot of it. It keeps popping up on Facebook. I've seen your name on a list, and as you know, I don't use my real name on Facebook.
Yeah.
I use Decodes, not Boo.
Yeah.
So straight away when they say I seen your name on this list, I think, what list is it for a start? But then it's like, well, I know it's not me. I put no, you didn't. He went, oh, fuck off, and then blocked me.
Anyone know or for their snazzy baseball caps?
Yes, I know a couple of places. I'll send you the link later.
You
can get a trucker's hat, trucker's cap, or a dad cap, whatever you want, in various colours.
A dad cap.
Yep, you can relive your early 2000s dream and have a trucker cap.
Yes.
Trucker with a silent F.
And have a CB. Right, we've got 2 minutes left, and we've got two questions. Well, one question, one statement. So this is from your mate Mark. Hello, Mark. Hi all. Speaking to Chris today, I had an experience last week. Has anyone tried remembering what they've seen in a meditation as a form of CE5?
Anyone tried remembering what they've seen in a meditation as a form in CE5? I'm not sure. I've not tried it.
See, when I go into meditation, I just cut everything else out and just concentrate on what I'm listening to, and that's it. Then when I'm ready, I just come straight back out again.
Right, okay. So anybody remember what they've seen in meditation as a form of your eyes? So, like, if you're just meditating as well, but
so I've never thought of doing that. I just meditate, do what I need to do, then carry on.
There's an interesting thing. I had a discussion with Mark about this as well, where it's maybe slightly kind of, I don't know if it's the same topic or no, but when I'll do some type of meditating and there's a certain thing, and I don't know how to recreate it, but it happens now and again, where it's almost like you can see somewhere else, and it's definitely just visualizing it.
Yeah.
Going to the corridor, being in a certain place, seeing a room, and it's maybe a snippet for like 30 seconds to a minute. And there's a certain way to try and recreate that, and that's what I want to try and dig into. But I didn't do enough meditating, to be honest with you. But there's like things like that which I find kind of interesting. Just places. It's almost like you go somewhere, and it's just a snippet during the process, maybe into the meditation or whatever, and then you get that for small snippets in it. And I'm trying to work out how to recreate it more.
Yeah.
We don't do meditation enough.
I know. I don't do as much as I used to. I
I
don't
don't.
feel that I have to, but I think I need to get back on it again.
You meditate while you drive.
Yeah. Once you do it, you can get into that state, and
you can do that.
you can do it anywhere. It's easy to do. It's just getting to that point of doing it. It's like anything, isn't it? Yeah.
I do not think
down in a ditch.
for entertainment purposes only. Do not meditate while you drive.
No, I don't shut my eyes and do all the yoga poses and all that. I just clear my mind and fully steering.
Police car driving past you.
Yeah. With me trucker cap on, I'll be all right. If I
just pull it down. Nobody can see your eyes are closed.
Yeah, right. So going back to what Chris said earlier, when doing manifestation or going out investigating, I don't use protection other than obsidian. And I know Nicole doesn't, because as well with that if something's going to attach itself to you, it's going to do it anyway, no matter where you are. And it's probably going to get...
No, if you do the right protections, though.
But if it's going to get you, it's going to do it when you're at your most vulnerable, which is probably when you're asleep.
But you can do protection to protect.
Intent.
Yeah, correct intent.
You can do protection to protect your house and clear your house and keep things out of your house to a certain degree.
Yeah.
And that would banish those things.
Nothing is going to follow me home. Nothing can follow me home.
Yeah.
And it's all about, as you say as well, it's all about intention. We actually having the intention and knowing that these things can't. Because like the thing is, in Gnosticism, well, there's like certain Gnostics that do astral travel and stuff like that, and they do protection before and after, or before astral traveling, right? So it stops things, attachments and stuff like that, right? Bob Monroe does a more kind of clinical thing, but just it's like in the start of meditation, it's about making this bubble around you and stuff like that, right? And it's part of the meditation, and that is their protection. Nothing can get in past this field, and it's just because you've got the intention of creating it and knowing that they kind of do it. So it's sort of do with intention, the way I kind of think about it.
Yeah, you just got to keep that mindset of this is what I'm doing.
Be gone, demon.
I'm not letting anything in or letting anything out. Nothing's going to attach to it. So, and that's it. That's all you can do. It's just mindset, mind over matter.
Yeah. Well, when I had that shadow figure, it was like 5 a.m. I was exhausted. I'm like, not tonight. I do not have time for this. I am too tired. And then it was gone. And that was the end of it.
There you go. Yeah. It's like, I'll go and get someone with a bit more energy.
Pray the grey away.
Someone who's going to fight me a little bit.
Right? Like, you're not even scared. No, I'm too tired to be scared.
Yeah. Right. So just before we finish, I'm going to put this out. This is from Og. It's not so much a question, but a bit of a statement. But I had a follow-on answer. But we'll carry this over to Friday's show when we've got Ash and Greg coming on. But you can think about it as well, Chris, if you want, and then message me back, and we'll I can discuss it on Fridays. So if the aliens from outer space are interested in our planet and us, as they say, why don't they deter it crashing? Why don't they deter it crashing with their technology? I think she's on about the asteroid.
The asteroid. Mm-hmm.
But my answer to that was, what if it isn't them that have got the higher technology? What if it's us that have the best tech and they're coming to us to try and get it? We've been lied to about everything else. Why were they not lying to us about this? What if all these crafts and all this tech that we've got going on actually belongs to us, and all these other races are coming to us to try and gain access to it?
Or they've sent it.
We're not that smart.
But how do you know?
Yeah, but I mean that aspect.
Walk down the street.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but I'm talking. I always think where the alien thing, but when you go back to having future us, past civilizations, future us developed, been away, coming back because obviously some kind of event.
Yeah, so we've still got the knowledge. Just because they're not sharing it with us doesn't mean to say we don't have it.
Mm-hmm.
They had computers in like the early 1900s. You had internet in the 1920s, apparently. So, do you know what I mean? It's a lot to take in. So imagine what we have got now if they'd advanced that much in tech to what we know they've got. And even if we think we know what they've got, isn't even going to be close to what they actually have.
Mm-hmm. Or we could have had, we could have went further in technology. It could have been something happened to the Earth, like a catalysm, or basically destroyed the Earth. But then we've came through that, grew again, built more stuff, but we're on their way back to actually say, right, it should be all right now. Let's go back there. And then we've basically grown up and developed loads of shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
Right. So
look what I've done.
I know, but at least you've still got Lego. That's what they'll say. Right. So on that note, we're gonna have to say good night because we are on the tarmac. Massive thank you again, Chris, for coming on. Always a pleasure.
Guys. Cheers, everybody in the chat.
Yeah.
Cheers,
thank you, everyone in the chat. Thank you, Nicole. You can listen to us on Audible, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the others. If you want to buy merch, because I know Baby of Lazy sat in the chat taking the piss, asking where they can get a hat from, and everyone's saying Primark. The links are there. You can go into the YouTube channel, scroll to the right-hand side, and it says store. Click on that, or you can click on the links that I've sent you. And that is it. So massive thank you for your questions. Thank you to everyone watching back. If you are a paying member to the YouTube channel, you can see who the guests are that we've got coming on between now and the end of May. I've already said who the guests are, but you can see when they're coming on, the date that they're on, and all that kind of stuff, whether it's a Wednesday or a Friday. So that's only open to members only, and I'm going to release the Wednesday, Monday on the Sunday night. So then you'll see it for the week approaching. So on Sunday, you'll see who's coming on next week.
It took me a second, but I got it.
Yeah. So this week you can see Chris is on, and then we've got Ash and Greg from Pursuit of the Paranormal on Friday. So, and it's going to be like that. So each Sunday it'll be open to the public. Other than that, it's members only, just to give something back. So thank you everyone who's doing the membership. New membership will be back open on the 1st of March, where we give the 10 giveaway. So that'll be Saturday, the 1st of March. So I'm going to do a quick 20-minute stream again, if you're up for it, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be in the afternoon at some point. So yeah, that's it. So thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful 2 days, and we'll see you again on Friday. And thanks again, Chris. Really do appreciate it.
Cheers, folks.
Right. I'll see you guys later. Take care and goodbye.
Goodbye.